What's up, guys? Welcome back to the JENNER Show podcast. Today's my special guest, Jamie Franchuk. Introduce yourself, man.
Hey man, my name's Jamie Franchuk. I'm the ring announcer for Crossbody Pro Wrestling and Go Hard Pro Wrestling and Backyard Pro.
Damn, that's a lot of ring announcing.
Yeah, man, I love it. It's the best.
Yeah. Okay, so what would you say is the best thing about ring announcing?
It's just I've been a fan like my whole life of wrestling, on and off. Like I've always followed, but there's been certain times where I got out of it because I wasn't so much into like indie wrestling. When I got into indie wrestling, then things kind of took off. But I just like being in the ring. I also train at Crossbody Pro Wrestling, like in the ring, like a normal wrestler.
Yep.
But I just don't know that I have the drive to be an actual wrestler because the hard work, like it's crazy. And I'm a little bit older too. I got into it a little bit late. So long-winded answer, I like being in the ring.
So you said you've been training, obviously. So what have you learned so far?
Well, lots. I train under some amazing coaches that all have different disciplines. So Ben Ortman's, he's the one coach. He's got like a fighting background, like MMA and kickboxing. Tid, Notorious TID, he's been in the business for like since the 90s. Like he's just like, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but he's a bad dude. Like he's like just tough and awesome and just like he's like a brawler. Also very technical and amazing promos. And then we have Tyler Thomas, who's he's younger and he's like more lucha style. Like he's like a high flyer. He's retired now, and he's young too. Retired. He got a concussion a few years back, so we're just lucky to get his knowledge and yeah, like he's incredible. All three of them are just amazing with different styles.
Okay. So how long have you been training for?
It's coming up on 3 years on and off, like with COVID. So like we got back at it last summer for 3 or 4 months, like into the fall, and then when things COVID started heating up again, we had to stop. So
Yeah.
last year probably only like 4 months, but the year prior, the whole year. I'd missed times. I had a bit of a not horrible, but a bit of a knee injury. So it kind of sidelined me for a couple months, but yeah, like it's the real deal. It's serious business. So, yeah, we're going hard in there.
That's pretty good. So obviously you train at Crossbody. Have you been able to get into the ring for a match yet, or?
Not a so I'm not a green light. I don't have a green light or anything like that. I've had a couple matches in training. The main one I remember was with Jimbo Jones. We did probably 7 minutes, and it was a lot of fun. It was good, good feedback. But like that's just how you get better. Like you just keep just reps, like with anything. So yeah, I want to do more. I don't think unless I was in there with like a veteran, like I think somebody like like Big Ben Ortman's, he could talk me through a match. I think. Likewise, like somebody like Holden Albright, he could too. But you couldn't just throw me in there with somebody, who's got a couple years experience, because I would need to be talked through it and calm down. Like I can only imagine the nerves and the pressure on your first couple matches.
So now that obviously you've been training, so how do you know how to structure a match?
I honestly, like, I'm still working on it. We do a lot of tape study, even still, actually, through the pandemic. We get on once a week usually to watch matches and break them down. It wasn't until probably a year and a half into training that the first step even clicked. Like, there's still a long way to go. I believe, like, I know how a match should be structured, but as far as structuring, like, it's still hard to put it together to tell that story. It's going to be a long time. I'm better at it, but that being said, like what I really like right now is watching a match now, and like kind of turning like the study cap on, like rather than watching it to like love wrestling. Which I guess either way I'm loving wrestling, but to put on like a student cap and like break down a match, I kind of know how to do that now, and it's a neat feeling, like when you can kind of anticipate something's going to happen. just in the confines of a match. Like, okay, we're going into this section now. It's really cool. I really like it. Like I by no means am I like Triple H, and this is used to describe Triple H a lot, but I like to think of myself as being a student of the game. So
Yeah.
I like to study it, and I really like this, like the art behind it.
Honestly, studying is the only way you're gonna get better. So,
Yep.
another question I have for you: what got you into wrestling, man?
Well, like I said, since I was a kid, I've loved it. And I'm talking like so. Like I said, I'm a bit older. So when I was about 10 years old, Superstars was on Saturday mornings after cartoons.
Mm.
And then I got into that, and man, it had a lot of like Earthquake and Jake the Snake and Macho Man, Ultimate Warrior. The first feud I remember really like being blown away by was Ultimate Warrior Papa Shango. I guess that was like 92 maybe or 91. Um,
Way before
but yeah, but that stuff like blew me away.
yeah.
And then we went into the Attitude Era, and right after that, like once WCW was sold, that's when I just kind of lost interest. I was around 21, 20, and I would follow more just like websites and stuff to see what's up. But I was kind of out of it until WrestleMania 30, which brought me right back in. And then, though, after a couple of years, I kind of fell out again. However, I was like, I'm not losing my love for wrestling again. And me and my buddy Drew checked out Superkicked in Toronto, and
Oh,
that like ignited like I love wrestling, and I need to somehow be a part of this.
okay. So you've also trained Super Kick then?
No, I just was there as a fan. So
Oh,
for like 2 years, I went as a fan with my buddy Drew. They monthly shows. I went to a couple of their student showcases, like their like secret shows. That's at their training facility. And no, I've never trained there. I know a lot of the wrestlers now through them coming to Crossbody, and they're totally awesome.
yeah.
But no, I've never worked or trained Super Kicked. But I do love them, and I thank them for being my gateway into indie wrestling for sure.
Okay. So, as an announcer, it must be really nerve-wracking as you're kind of the voice of that show.
Mhm.
How does that
Yeah,
feel?
it's like with anything with reps, it gets easier.
Mhm.
Uh, but I've done a couple of like big shows. Like when I announce myself as at the beginning as like I'm the announcer for those three things. I've done a full episode of Impact. I got that opportunity a couple of years ago through Crossbody, who we help out with Impact. So they were in town in Mississauga, um, taping at Battle Arts, and yeah, I did a 2 hour show with. They had like a mixed tag tournament, so it was like names out of a hat and mixed um, teams. And I actually two of the big ones that well, they were all big names and huge, like
Yeah.
huge for me. But it was during the Sammy Callahan Tessa Blanchard feud that led to her winning the title. So it was super cool to announce them. They were a team that night. And I was featured a lot on the Instagram, like not me, like my face, but my call was featured on the Impact Instagram a few times over the course of the year. They'd do throwbacks to that match, which obviously they didn't throw it back because of me, but it was such a neat moment and a good match. I'm super honored that I was like my voice is in it.
Yeah. Basically, it's just like the fact that you just hear any part of that just makes you feel special. So,
Yeah, it's super cool. Like it's unbelievable.
mhm. So as a ring announcer, do you ever get really nervous when you're the first person that everyone hears?
I was, yeah, the first few times because I didn't know what to say, and I still kind of don't. I do it at Crossbody because it's really nice. Last year, Ben opened a pro wrestling tee store for Crossbody, and over the course of a few weeks, put out some shirts. And yeah, he made a shirt for me, and it has my Kitchener catchphrase every time I start the show with excuse me, a good evening Kitchener. So I just come out and call it out. And Crossbody is so awesome, and that has there's probably like 20 to 30 loyal fan base who's always there every show. So like it got to a point like I probably announced, oh man, I don't remember the number, but a lot of shows, like 50 or something or more at Crossbody. So like now that's like me coming out and say good evening Kitchener. How I say it is like people like go crazy. Like it starts the show. Like people are just stoked for what they're gonna see.
Definitely. Would you mind doing it?
Sure. Oh man, it's been so long, but like the cadence is more like, "Good evening, Kitchener," kind of
Damn,
like
that would give
that.
me hype.
Yeah, nice. I'm a lot louder in the
Definitely.
the environment.
Yeah. So, do you have any training stories or funny stories about your training or as an announcer?
Well, okay, yeah. Training, not really funny story, but I just want to put over how great everybody I train with. Like the crossbody team is just so great. Like when I came into this, I was 50 pounds heavier. Like no athleticism. I've been athletic in the past, but basically through my job. I was doing a lot of traveling and not a lot of exercising, and yeah, just super unhealthy, out of shape. Like all my muscles like hurt for months.
Yeah.
For actually a good year in training, like I was beat up a lot. Um, but just like them, like coaching me and helping me, and just the camaraderie with all my fellow schoolmates is just super wonderful. But funny story though, announcing when I did that Impact show. Um, so I didn't know I was doing it. Like I was there to help as usual, but I didn't know I was doing it till like an hour before showtime. So they don't have like a spreadsheet or anything like with everybody's incidentals. Like I needed to go around and ask these like Impact superstars their info, like where are you from? I did a bit of homework. I knew the day before that I might be doing it. So I watched the latest pay-per-view, which had just happened a week prior, and wrote everybody's incidentals down. So I was kind of ready. But no matter what, when I'm announcing, I need to check. There's some people I announce every week, but I just say, hey, this is what I've got. Is this still correct? And they'll say yes or no. Sometimes things change.
Yeah.
Young Love has tried a few different things on the student shows, and I just love changing it up. So I was asking everybody in the Impact locker room, and two people, Ace Austin and Zach Wentz. I didn't have anything for either of those guys, and like this might be bad, but they backstage to me, I couldn't. They looked the same. They weren't ever standing beside each other, but I thought I'd see both of them around, and I'd be like, "There's Ace Austin." So I went up to Zach Wentz and was like, "Ace Austin," and he went, "Nope," and he walked away. I was like, "Oh no, okay." Well, and I still thought I was talking to Ace Austin. He was being rude to
Yeah.
me, but I know that okay. He said nope, so I'm just gonna walk away. No problem. And then I kind of figured it out because I was in the locker room putting my suit on, and I saw
Mhm.
Ace Austin getting his gear. And at the time, I don't know if he still does, but he had like a kind of like a scepter, like a stick, a walking
Oh,
stick thing. I think that something came out of. And I was like, oh, okay, that's Ace Austin, but that's not who I talked to. So it was easy. I just went up to Wentz later and I was like, Zach Wentz? And he was like, yep. And then he was super cool and it was fine. But I was super embarrassed. My one job is to know people and not screw up names. So I need
yeah.
to. But I was super cool. Everybody in the Impact locker room was super nice.
Yeah. So, speaking of the impact, which wrestlers have you bet through
Uh,
announcing?
oh man. Well, not through announcing, but probably like the biggest kind of mark out moment was Billy Gunn. He was at Battle Arts doing a seminar. I missed the seminar, unfortunately. Like I say, I train, so I do try to get to these, but I wasn't able to make it. But I was helping out with the show afterwards, and so I met him, and yeah, it was just he was Attitude Era, like he was, and I couldn't believe how tall and huge he is, just because of
Yeah.
that time. He's standing by Triple H all the time and China and like he just I'm not saying he ever looked small, but he never came off as that massive.
Yeah.
Uh, also, at that first Super Kick show that I went to, I was in awe of the indie talent they had on there, and the headliner was Jake Something. So I've always been just blown away by him. So while I was visiting as a fan, or not visiting, while I was at shows as a fan, I would try and get pictures with Jake Something. Like every time I saw it was like Jake, and we'd get pictures. But then fast forward a couple of years, and like I'm announcing him, and like I'm not saying he knows me, but when he sees me, it's like, hey man, how's it going? Like it's super cool. I told him a couple of years ago, I was like, all right, now that when we're on shows together, I'm getting a picture with you every time. So it's just I don't know, stuff like that's fun. Like I hate to be a mark, but I did a seminar once with Michael Elgin, and he's great to learn from. And at the end of the seminar, we just sit down and he's like, any questions like about the business you have? And my question was, like, I love wrestling. I'm a mark. Is it weird to like ask peers, I guess you could call them, like other people in the industry, is it cool like to ask for pictures and mark out? And he was like, yeah, man, if you've been watching them for a while and all that, like just go up to them and tell them like, yeah, you're an inspiration, and get a picture with them. And there's nothing wrong with it. Like, we're all wrestling fans here. And that was just nice, because I can be self-conscious about certain things.
Yeah,
Like, I don't want to look stupid.
you don't want to go to a guy who's just like, why the hell would I take a picture with you?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it might have been like that 15 or 20 years ago. And it is all in how you do it too. Like, don't, grovel at a person. But yeah, no, it's really cool. Like, the wrestling industry is it's really cool. And I know when people have been in it for a while, like 10, 15 years, you can get kind of like burnt out on some of the stuff. But I am nowhere near that. Nor am I a wrestler. So, like, I train, but I'm a ring announcer. I would never call myself like a wrestler like those guys, unless I was.
Yeah. So, how would you say you stay in shape during like the pandemic?
Oh man, it's been I was down pretty good. I've just been monitoring my diet.
Oh,
About 6 months into cross body training, um, Ben, Coach Ben, and by the way, shout out Big Ben Ortmans. He was the stand-in in the Nick Gage episode of Dark Side of the Ring last week. So shout out to him. That was really cool. But I talked to him about diet, and he hooked me up with a nice little plan to get me started, because I was like fast food 6 times a week type of person. So I totally got that out of my system. I started cooking for myself. Love cooking. So when lockdown happens, I just monitored my intake. This time last year, I was going for a lot of walks, but I wasn't like hitting it hard, anything. Um, then I got out of that, and up until mid-February, I wasn't really doing anything. I was starting to put on some weight, so I started DDP yoga, and
oh yeah.
so I'm like 13 weeks into that, and I like everybody on earth should be doing DDP yoga, even if you're doing other like weights, even if you're doing like a lot of weights, like 3 times a day in the gym. If you do a DDP yoga session before that, like, I don't get hurt anymore. Like, I don't get little pulls, like sometimes you getting out of bed, especially at my
Oh
age.
yeah.
You just pull stuff, and this doesn't happen anymore with all the stretching and the dynamic resistance. It's awesome. And also, I 10 days ago, I started keto, and I've dropped 8 pounds. So, like,
Keto
keto
is
also.
high
Sorry?
protein, high fat, right?
Yeah, higher fat than protein, though. You can get into trouble if you do higher protein. You'll start burning that as carbs or something. I don't know. I'm not a doctor, nor do I do. I tried it once before and just did not enough research, and it was bad. I never hit ketosis, so like for 5 weeks I was very hungry. But this time it only took a couple days before I don't feel hungry. Like, I feel hungry when I haven't eaten in a while.
Oh
Actually, I'm
yeah.
also doing intermittent fasting, so I'm
Uh,
not going to eat for another half hour, and I haven't eaten yet today.
uh,
But that I've been doing a little longer, maybe like 6 weeks. But it's just, yeah, a combination of things. Sorry, I'm talking your ear off here, but yeah, a combination of things. It's important, because I don't want to balloon that 50
oh,
pounds back.
because when everything opens up and you can train, you don't want to be that guy that's like gained so much weight, right? So
No. And thanks to the DDP yoga, when we do get in the ring again, I'm going to be like a lot more just limber, let's say. I think my jumping game is going to be a lot better too, which actually, it might not look it, but I've got one of my strengths is my legs. I can get up and over the ropes like no problem. So yeah, it's looking forward to being back in the ring.
oh, definitely. Basically, it's probably just gonna make you a lot more agile than you were before.
Oh yeah, very much so.
Okay, so another question I have for you is, what are your goals and aspirations the next 5 or 10 years?
So wrestling wise, I just want to keep announcing, and I want to announce for more promotions. When the border opens up, I would like to go to the States to like. So that's the thing too, is I also don't want to take anybody's job, because I know how much I love announcing. Um, I just want people to know that I'm ready. So, like, say there's a promotion in the States that, one of the ring announcers moves on or doesn't want to do it anymore. I want them to know that they can call on me. But that's also something I'd like to look into, doing it without having to worry about the border. Because I know some wrestlers have been pinched in the past where you lose access for X amount of time. So something I need to do, and I've been talking about it for a while, is just looking into how I can do that with like the proper paperwork. But like without a job, I don't think that's easy. So I don't know. Anyways, that's just something I'm looking to do. But yes, I want to branch out into the U.S. more because my 20-year goal, I said this on a podcast last week, I want to be, I want to take Bruce Buffer's job at the UFC. Again, I don't
Now,
want to take it. I don't want to push him out. But when he's ready to move on, I want to be known. I want to get in there.
that would be funny.
It would be the coolest thing ever. So like that's a pipe dream, but you got to dream big, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. It would be hard to fill his shoes though.
You got that right. But I think I'm up to the task.
So, any goals or aspirations as like a wrestler, or is that just like a training thing you're just doing on the side?
It's kind of a training thing. Like I said, I've there's so many inspirational people that I'm around. Like Holden Albright is just like the amount of like marketing he does for himself and how he puts himself out there and keeps himself relevant during the pandemic is just incredible. And then the amount when we aren't in pandemic, the amount of work that he puts in to get to shows and to put in the best possible effort for every show he does, like he's a beast.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. So like people like that, just blow me away. And I know that on that level where I am at my life, I can't put in that effort. So it's not like I want to say I'm not going to try. I definitely that's not it at all. But um, to do like a real run at wrestling at this point, um, I just don't know if that's for me. But a goal that I do have is I would really like to have a few matches on a show. It doesn't even need to be a main show. Um, and I've only come up with this goal in the past week, but I would love to have a match, even though he's scary as hell with my coach Tid, the notorious TID. Um, that I think would be incredible, and he would kick my ass. Like it would be like I don't even know why I'm asking for this, or not even asking, but like why I'm like working towards this. But we'll see. It all depends when we start up again and training, because we're all kind of like my fitness is good this time, but I haven't given anybody like an arm lock and
Yeah.
a wrist lock in like a year. So
Yeah.
starting over.
Fitness is still hard when it comes to like ring fitness.
Yep, ring cardio is different than anything. And to be honest, my cardio, I'm not a runner. I have been in the past an okay runner, but I'm not a runner. But that cardio, like if I were to go out and run around the block, that cardio is different from ring cardio. Ring cardio is like mental, physical, like there's so much to it. And I haven't even scratched the surface. I can only imagine what it would be like in front of people. Like, oh, crazy.
All right, one of the last questions I have for you is any hobbies outside of wrestling that you do?
Yeah, I'm huge into like video games, like my whole life. So yeah, I play a lot of vids. Right now I'm playing. I kind of missed it when it came around, but I'm playing Horizon Zero Dawn, which is super cool, super
I
fun.
thought
Yeah, it's awesome. It looks amazing. I also since the pandemic, just being kind of stuck at home, I got into Lego, and I've been buying a ton, and it's like it's almost a problem. They just announced this new Spider-Man Daily Bugle set, like a huge like building. It goes on sale on June 1st, and like I set a notice in my calendar that like the second it goes on sale, I need to buy it.
yeah, those Lego sets are getting like bigger and bigger every single time they drop one.
This
Like I seen
one's
that.
like 3 feet tall.
Damn. So like the last time I seen one, I think it was the Super Mario one.
Yep.
Yeah, that was one of the last ones I saw. And it was crazy. It was like the whole like first level or something. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool. Actually, that was the first one that I bought last year that got me into it. A buddy of mine, Zach, he's been collecting for years, like years since we've been an adult. But when we were kids, he had this massive, like, tub of Legos that we'd always play with. I'm talking like when we were like 8, 9 years old. Um, but yeah, like he's been collecting, and he was like, "You should check out that Lego set. I don't or that Nintendo set. I don't think I'm gonna get it, but you should look into it." I was like, I don't know, maybe. And then I got that set. Then I
Mhm.
got like a bunch of cars. Then I got the Ghostbusters Firehouse, which like I had to find like
Yeah.
used because they don't sell it anymore. Oh, on and on and on.
So, anything else you like do outside of wrestling?
Well, I work in like kind of like technical sales, so I've got a nice. I've been really lucky throughout the pandemic where I can work from home. Um,
Yeah.
so when it's not crossbody, or sorry, when it's not COVID, I'm on the road a lot, but only locally.
Yeah.
So I can be home in the evening, which wasn't something I had in the first 7 years of my career, which is what allowed me to start training at Crossbody. And when it's not COVID, allows me to train in the evening, be at shows on Friday and Saturday, be at shows during the week too. Like I get off work at 4:30, 5 o'clock, so I can be in Mississauga. So I'm just through my work life. I'm really lucky that I can also have wrestling because I know a lot of people in the wrestling business. They're a lot younger than me, and a lot of them their primary income is wrestling, which I admire the hell out of. And it must be so difficult um, that we can't wrestle right now. That there's just no shows. So yeah, I'm just like I said, I'm very lucky the position that I'm in.
That's great, man. So, my last question for you is, what is your favorite wrestling match from any promotion that you ever seen?
Does it have to be seen in person?
No.
Okay. Well, actually, that jogged my memory. The best match that I've seen in person was DIY Ciampa and Gargano versus the Revival in Toronto at Survivor Series weekend.
I was there too.
Oh man, wasn't that the best? Like that was the best crowd. Um, oh, actually, second best crowd. Best crowd was Roadblock at the Rico Center
Oh
when
yeah.
uh, when Ambrose pinned 1, 2, 3 Triple H, but there was the whole gimmick with the ref foot under the rope. But when he counted three, the roof blew off that fucking place. That was so cool. Sorry, didn't mean to swear. Sorry, my
It's
language.
all good.
But it was so awesome. Um,
I wasn't able to
actually,
make.
oh, that was a good show. That was the first time also that I'd seen Enzo and Cass, and they were so over on that NXT run. Like the whole crowd was chanting. It was so cool. Yeah, that was really good. I won. Well, not one, but some in line. They looked at our ticket and they were like, "Oh, you got to go over there. You got to get new tickets." And me and my buddy were like, "Oh man!" Like we were sitting on the floor. But they ended us giving a second row hard cam, like right behind the barricade. It was like the best seats I've ever had in wrestling.
That's
Um,
amazing.
yeah. So that was really cool. So yeah, you know what? I'll say those two. Like I also love Brett Owen at WrestleMania 10. I love Mr. Perfect Brett at SummerSlam 91, I think it was. Um, yeah, those are all my faves.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to say the matches you've seen in person because like you actually were there for that moment than to just watch it on TV and say, "Oh yeah, that was a good match."
Mhm.
Like I can
Oh,
see why experiences are better.
another experience I was lucky enough to have is, like I said, I'm a bit older. So in 1998, I think it was, I was at the In Your House breakdown pay per view in Hamilton, and
Okay.
it was kind of you can see it on the network in the they did like the Rock's early years, and it was the last thing in that set, and it was the first time that the Rock was truly over. That was probably because it was so long ago, like it was 1998. I can't fully remember the pop, but I remember it. That was probably a bigger pop than the Ambrose pin. Um, it was crazy how over The Rock was, and it was he was still kind of being booed on TV. Like people were starting to see what The Rock was all about, but this one, man, was crazy, and it was a cage match versus Mankind and Ken Shamrock, the triple
Yeah.
threat cage. So it was crazy. Oh, it was so cool.
I
Yeah, I
feel like
love
a lot of
wrestling.
people forget that like The Rock was that over back then, and people like
Mhm.
forget now because they see him when he comes back. It's like it's a lot of people cheering, but it's not anything compared to what it was in '98.
No, and it's like, and when he got over, then he was over as a wrestler, as The Rock. Now he's a billionaire movie star, like producer, like just what a dude, like what a great guy.
But I feel like a lot more people know him for like casual fans that watch
Mhm.
his movies, and they see
Yep.
him on wrestling. Okay, I'm gonna watch that show, but then they never watch again. So yeah.
No, exactly. They see him and they're like, "That's The Rock. I know him from Entertainment Tonight or whatever." It's not like just wrestling.
All right, so that's pretty much it for this podcast. So anything you want to share, like your social medias or anything?
Yeah, sure. You can my main social media, and it's mostly pictures of wrestling when it's happening, or my cat, Winston. It's at jfrancisco82. I'm also on Twitter. My handle is at toast_and_Jamie. I'm not there as much, but yeah, check it out. Follow me, and follow Crossbody Pro Wrestling. Follow Go Hard Pro. Follow Backyard Wrestling. There's season 3 that's going to be coming this summer. So all that stuff. There's still lots of good wrestling going on. So just make sure you're watching it.
All right, man. It was great having you.
Thank you.
Hope when everything comes back, eventually you can be on my podcast again. It was an amazing episode. And stay tuned for Monday because I have Scott Patterson, indie wrestler from the States, coming to
Sick.
my show. And so, yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you for being on my show. And we out, guys.
Thank you, AJ.